The feeling is specific. It is not just tiredness. Tiredness is the result of labor. You work, you finish, you rest. This is not that. This is a low-level frequency humming in the base of your skull, a phantom vibration in your pocket, the sense that you have forgotten to do something vital, though you cannot name what it is. It is the exhaustion of being a project that is never finished. Somewhere in the last 15 years, the definition of personhood was silently updated. To exist is no longer enough. Now, to exist is to manage a portfolio. You are not a human being. You are a content manager. You are a PR strategist. You are a crisis response team. And you are the product, all at once. And you are doing this work for free, on a device you paid for, on a platform that sells your anxiety to advertisers. Welcome to the unpaid internship of existence. We need to diagnose the mechanism, because if you think this is just social media addiction, you are missing the wound. The philosopher Byung-Chul Han calls this the achievement society. He argues that we have moved past the age of discipline. In the 20th century, the world was a prison, or a factory, or a school. It was governed by Foucault's negativity. You cannot do this. You must obey. Get back in line. The enemy was external. It was the boss, the state, the teacher. You knew who was oppressing you. And because you knew who they were, you could hate them. You could dream of leaving work at 5 p.m. That world is gone. We have replaced the prohibition of no with the terrifying infinite freedom of yes. Yes, you can. Yes, you can be an influencer. Yes, you can optimize your morning routine. Yes, you can monetize your hobbies. Yes, you can be a better version of yourself. This looks like freedom. It feels like a cage. When the should becomes can, the pressure to perform becomes internal. There is no boss standing over you with a stopwatch. You have internalized the stopwatch. You are now the master and the slave in one body. You drive yourself harder than any 19th century factory foreman ever could. Why? Because when you fail, you cannot blame the system. You can only blame your own lack of optimization, your own lack of mindset. If you aren't viral, it's because you didn't post at the right time. If you aren't happy, it's because you didn't manifest it correctly. If you are tired, it's because your sleep hygiene is poor. This is the violence of positivity. Think about the sheer administrative load of being you today. The curation of the bio, the selection of the profile picture, the tone policing of the caption, the strategic decision to post a story versus a reel, the mental calculus of who has viewed it, and what it means that they viewed it but didn't like it. This is labor. It is cognitive, emotional, and aesthetic labor. And it never stops, because the internet never closes. The factory of the self runs 24/7, 365. You wake up. You reach for the phone. You clock in. Consider the metaphor of the unpaid intern. The intern is precarious. They are desperate to be seen. They are terrified of being cringy or irrelevant. They work for exposure. They hold the coffee for the algorithm, hoping for a promotion that never comes. You are the intern of your own life. You are constantly generating data, generating content, generating signal, hoping that the algorithm god will bless you with dopamine. But the algorithm is not your boss. It is the landlord of the digital space you inhabit, and the rent is paid in your attention. This creates a state of permanent low-grade panic. If you stop posting, do you stop existing? If you don't update the avatar, does the version of you in their heads die? This is why taking a break feels like a threat to your survival. Because in the achievement society, visibility is ontology. To be seen is to be. To be unseen is to perish. So you keep working. You edit the photo. You smooth the skin. You sharpen the wit. You package your political anger into a shareable infographic. You package your heartbreak into a relatable thread. You package your joy into a 15-second clip set to trending audio. You are strip mining your own soul for engagement. And you are tired. God, you are so tired. But you cannot sleep, because the intern has work to do, and the boss, the one inside your head, is screaming that you are falling behind. We have built a world where self-love is indistinguishable from self-marketing. We have confused identity with brand awareness, and we wonder why we feel empty. It is because a brand is not a person. A brand is a construct designed to be consumed. And if you turn yourself into a brand, do not be surprised when you feel consumed. But this is only the first layer of the autopsy. We have established that we are working. Now we must ask, who are we performing for? If the boss is in our head, who put him there? Who is watching? We have established that you are the exhausted employee of your own life. But every employee needs a manager. Every performance needs an audience. If you are working this hard to curate the self, who are you doing it for? You might say, for my friends, for my community, for connection. This is a comforting lie. You're not performing for people. You're performing for a machine that simulates people. You're performing for the algorithmic look. In the 18th century, Jeremy Bentham designed the Panopticon, a prison where the inmates could be watched at any moment, but could never see the watcher. The result? The inmates learned to police themselves. They behaved because they might be watched. We have built something far more efficient. In the Digital Panopticon, we don't hide from the guard tower. We wave at it. We beg the guard to look at us. We tag the guard in our stories. We check the analytics to see if the guard liked the post. The French philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre wrote about the look, le regard. He described the moment you realize you are being watched by another person. In that moment, you cease to be the center of your own universe. You become an object in their world. You freeze. You become solid. You become that guy. The look steals your freedom because it defines you from the outside. Sartre said, hell is other people. He did not live to see the hell of other data. Today, the look is not human. It is mathematical. The algorithm is the ultimate voyeur. It sees everything, forgets nothing, and judges instantly. But here is the twist. The algorithm doesn't just watch you. It predicts you. It doesn't care who you are. It cares who you can be induced to become. This is where we must perform surgery on your desires. Enter René Girard in the concept of mimetic desire. Girard argued that human beings do not have authentic desires. We don't know what we want. We only know what other people want. We copy, we imitate. We look at the model, and we want what the model has. In the past, you mimicked your neighbors, or maybe a movie star. The circle of imitation was small. Today, the algorithm is a mimetic engine scaled to infinity. It shows you what millions of people desire, and then it subtly nudges you to become the thing that they desire. You think you chose your aesthetic. You think you chose your political opinions. You think you chose the way you decorate your apartment. You think you chose the specific cadence of your voice when you speak to the camera. Are you sure? Or did the feed show you what performs well? Did you unconsciously optimize your personality for the marketplace? This brings us to the central metaphor of this act, the teleprompter. We tend to think of social media as a megaphone, a place where we shout our truth to the world. It is not a megaphone, it is a teleprompter. When you go to type a caption, when you go to record a video, you are not speaking freely. You are reading lines that have been generated by the feedback loop of the last 10,000 posts you consumed. You are auto-completing your soul. You know, instinctively, what will get likes. You know what will get you ignored. You know what will get you cancelled. So you smooth out the edges. You adopt the current slang. You perform the correct moral outrage. You perform the correct vulnerability. This is why you feel digital exhaustion. It is the exhaustion of being an actor who never gets to break character. You are reading a script written by a machine that maximizes engagement, not human flourishing. The machine rewards conflict, so you become combative. The machine rewards thirst, so you become sexualized. The machine rewards spectacle, so you become a caricature. And slowly, the mask eats the face. You forget where the performance ends and the person begins. The teleprompter scrolls faster and faster, and you are terrified that if you stop reading, the audience will leave. Sartre was wrong. Hell isn't other people. Hell is the version of yourself you designed to please an algorithm that cannot love you. But surely there is an escape. Surely if we just stop being fake and start being real, we can break the loop. If we just show our true selves, our messy, broken, authentic selves. No, that is the most dangerous trap of all. The trap snaps shut here. You realize the polish was fake. You realize the filters were lying. So you decided to rebel. You decided to be real, to show the mess, to show the breakdown, to show the wound. You thought you were escaping the performance. You just entered the VIP lounge of the Panopticon. This is the era of emotional capitalism, a concept defined by the sociologist Eva Illouz. Illouz argues that emotions have been pulled out of the private sphere and dragged into the marketplace. Your feelings are no longer just internal weather. They are assets. They are commodities with an exchange value. In the old economy, you sold your labor. In the influencer economy, you sell your interiority. Think about what the algorithm rewards right now. It doesn't want the perfect sunset anymore. That's 2015. It wants the mental health update. It wants the story time about your trauma. It wants the panic attack filmed in the car. Why? Because pain feels authentic. And in a world of deepfakes and AI, authenticity is the scarcest resource. So the market bids up the price of your pain. This creates a perverse incentive structure. If you get 50 likes for a picture of your lunch, but 5,000 likes for a picture of you crying, what does your brain learn? It learns that your suffering is your most valuable product. You begin to mine your own life for tragedy. You save your tears for the ring light. You unconsciously structure your breakdowns for the 9:16 aspect ratio. This is not healing. This is the commercialization of the wound. The French theorist Jean Baudrillard warned us about the simulacrum, a copy without an original, a map that precedes the territory. When you cry on camera, are you really crying? Or are you performing the sign of crying? Are you simulating the vulnerable influencer archetype you saw last week? It becomes impossible to tell the difference, even to yourself, especially to yourself. You find yourself in a moment of genuine grief, and a part of your brain whispers, "This would make a powerful caption." That whisper is the death of intimacy. It brings us to the structural metaphor of this act, the open plan prison. We used to have a backstage. Sociologist Goffman said life is a theatre. We perform on the front stage, but we retreat to the backstage to take off the mask, to be ugly, to be silent, to be unobserved. The internet bulldozed the backstage. It tore down the walls in the name of transparency. Share your truth. Live out loud. But without a backstage, there is no rest. And if you are performing authenticity 24 hours a day, you are never actually real. You're just acting like a real person. This is the deepest exhaustion of all. The exhaustion of having no secrets. The exhaustion of turning your heart into content before you've even felt it beating. And when you have sold every private moment, when you have externalized every internal thought, what is left? You look inside for the core of who you are, and you find nothing. Just a collection of tags, just a cloud of data points looking for a server. You begin to glitch. The system is overheating. We have spoken about the work. We have spoken about the audience. Now we must speak about the damage. What happens to a human psyche when it is sliced into 1,000 different demographics? When you are a professional on LinkedIn, a shitposter on X, a main character on TikTok, a ghost in the DMs. You're not one person anymore. You're a constellation of assets managed by a struggling holding company. This is ontological vertigo. The psychiatrist R.D. Laing wrote The Divided Self in 1960. He was describing schizophrenia, but he inadvertently predicted the modern user experience. Laing described the schizoid condition not as a disease, but as a strategy for survival. When the world feels dangerous or consuming, the self splits. There is the false self, the mask you show the world to keep them happy, and the true self, which retreats deep inside the fortress of the mind to stay safe. The internet demands this split as a term of service. To survive online, you must build a false self, a digital avatar that can handle the criticism, the gaze, and the demands of the algorithm. You send the avatar out to do battle in the comments section. You send the avatar out to look sexy in the photos. But here is the horror story. You have sent the avatar out so many times, and it has stayed out so long, that you have locked yourself out of the fortress. You try to return to the true self, but you can't find the door. You sit in your room, offline, in silence, and you still feel like you are performing. You still narrate your thoughts as if they were tweets. The mask is grafted onto the bone. This fragmentation gets worse when we add the dimension of time. Enter Mark Fisher and the concept of hauntology. Fisher argued that our culture has lost the ability to imagine the future, so we are condemned to endlessly recycle the past. We are haunted by lost futures. Apply this to your own profile. Social media flattens time. Your post from 5 years ago exists on the same flat screen as your post from 5 minutes ago. You are haunted by your own digital ghosts. The on this day feature is not nostalgia. It is a haunting. It drags the corpse of who you were in 2018 into your living room and asks, why aren't you this happy anymore? Why don't you look like this anymore? You are forced to compete with your past self. You are pinned to versions of you that no longer exist. The internet does not allow you to change. It only allows you to accumulate. You are carrying the weight of every version of yourself you have ever uploaded. Imagine a video game where you play for 100 hours. You build the character. You maximize the stats. Then you try to load the game and the file is corrupted. The data is there, but the coherence is gone. This is the modern condition. We have so much data on ourselves. We have tracked our sleep, our steps, our screen time, our heart rate. We have archived our thoughts, our meals, our relationships. We have never known more about ourselves, and we have never felt less like ourselves, because a person is not a database. A person is a mystery. When you turn the mystery into a database, something vital dies. The file corrupts. You feel this corruption when you try to answer a simple question. How are you? And you honestly don't know. You know how your brand is doing. You know what the vibes are. But you? The you that exists before the upload? That signal is lost. We are drifting, untethered from the ground, spinning in a centrifuge of our own curation. We are exhausted not because we are doing too much, but because we are trying to maintain the structural integrity of a ghost. There is only one way out, and it is the one thing the algorithm hates most. It is not quitting. It is not detox. It is something far more radical. It is the refusal to be legible. A detox implies that the internet is a toxin you can flush out, and then return to normal consumption. It treats the symptom, not the structure. You go offline for a week, you feel better, and then you return to the factory floor, guiltier than before because you have a backlog of emails. We cannot leave the digital world. For most of us, it is where we work, where we bank, where we maintain our families. To leave entirely is a privilege of the wealthy. So if we must stay in the Panopticon, how do we survive it? We turn to the Martinique philosopher Édouard Glissant. In Poetics of Relation, he proposed a radical concept, the right to opacity. Western thought, and by extension, the algorithm, is obsessed with transparency. To understand something is to grasp it, to measure it, to reduce it to data. The algorithm demands that you are transparent, that you are categorizable. Male, 24 to 35, urban, interested in tech and sneaky hours. Glissant argued that we must refuse this reduction. We have a right not to be understood. We have a right to remain opaque, to be a density that light cannot pass through. Opacity is not hiding. Hiding implies you have a secret to protect. Opacity means your existence is so singular, so complex that it can't be reduced to a data set. What does this look like in practice? It looks like strategic incoherence. The algorithm wants you to have a brand, a consistent niche, a predictable behavior pattern. Do the opposite. Be messy, not curated messy, actually inconsistent. Love things that don't fit your demographic. Post things that confuse the tracking pixel. Refuse to turn every hobby into a side hustle. Refuse to turn every sorrow into a caption. Reclaim the sanctity of the unposted moment. When you see a sunset that stops your breath and the urge rises to capture it, to share it, to prove you were there. Don't. Let the moment die with you. Keep it inside the fortress. By hoarding these moments, you rebuild the backstage. You create a reservoir of experiences that have no exchange value. You create a self that the market cannot touch because the market does not know it exists. This brings us to the final metaphor, static. The algorithm feeds on signal. It wants clear, actionable data. She likes this. He hates that. Become static. Become the white noise between the stations. Hum with a frequency that conveys no information, only presence. When you refuse to perform, when you refuse to maximize your engagement, you become invisible to the machine, but you become visible to yourself again. Digital exhaustion is the feeling of a soul stretched too thin over too much server space. The cure is contraction, pulling your energy back from the cloud, returning to the density of your own body. You do not need to be authentic. You do not need to be understood. You just need to be. Let them scroll past. Let the engagement numbers drop to zero. Let the algorithm forget you. In that silence, for the first time in years, you might actually hear your own voice. And yes, before the comment writes itself, I know this video is content. I know it was edited, thumbnailed, titled for click-through rate. I know the algorithm will categorize this as philosophical video essay, likely to enjoy also stoicism, minimalism, why you're not disciplined. I know that by naming the machine, I am feeding the machine. This is not a contradiction. This is the condition. There is no outside from which to critique the inside. There is no clean hill to stand on and point down at the mess. We are all in the mess. The question was never, how do I escape the system? The question is, can I speak inside the system without letting the system speak through me? I don't know if I've managed that here. Maybe the cadence of my voice right now is something I unconsciously borrowed from the last 10 video essayists the algorithm fed me. Maybe even this moment of self-doubt is performing the exact kind of curated vulnerability I warned you about. I can't prove otherwise. And that inability to prove it, that permanent suspicion that you might be reading from the teleprompter even when you think you've gone off script, that is the argument, not as a neat conclusion, as an open wound.